My testimony is debt collector for a motorcycle group. I grew up horrifically abused, sexually, physically, and violently abused as a child. And so all these incredible things God's done to me and through me after I came to Christ and was healed from all that stuff. I'm from Bellingham, so it takes me an hour and 17 minutes to get here from my house. And so as you guys can imagine, I've got all the excuse in the world I think I need to get out of this. But then I remembered what Impact Players is about. When you do something that you don't want to do, but you have to do, there's a part of your prefrontal cortex that actually grows. But I decided, you know what, I instead of asking myself, how can I get out of this? I started asking myself, how can I make it? There's a verse in the Bible that says, be doers of the word, not just hearers of the word. Don't deceive yourself, right? So I'm constantly talking about integrity, being a man of your word, doing what you say you're going to do. Let your yeses be yeses and your noes be noes.
I'm used to speaking to athletes. I've been a chaplain for 38 years. Number one, I'm a Christ follower. And Jesus Christ is priority number one in my life. I have dedicated my life to do what I can to be a light for Him in the realm of sports. I committed my life to Jesus Christ in 1972. I'm a husband. I've been married happily for 46 years. I am here today and able to share because I come with that support behind me. I'm a father of 4, have 8 grandbabies and 1 on the way. We fumble the ball, we mess up, we step out of bounds, we sin and fall short of the glory of God. That's why God sent Jesus Christ, to do for you what you could not do for yourself, to pay the price for your sin, to make you and allow you to have a right relationship. Is there any reason why right now you wouldn't want to join God's team? I just knew I needed a shepherd, and I cried out to God and I said, Lord, thank you for loving me. Thank you for loving me enough that you died on a cross for my sins. And right now I pray and invite you to come into my life. I believe you have made the greatest decision anybody can ever make. You've connected your life, entrusted your life to God for safekeeping. And that's what the word commitment means. It means to connect oneself or entrust oneself for safekeeping. The key is to walk the talk. It's to live it out. It's what Jeff said earlier. James 1:22, but prove yourselves doers of the word and not merely hearers who delude themselves. God is preparing His heroes. And when the opportunity comes, He can fit them into their places in a moment. And the world will wonder where they came from. God chooses to use ordinary men like me and Jeff and Don and Randy and Bent and Doc Mitchell, ordinary people to make a difference. And Richard, He does not ask you to get your act together. He does not ask you to become perfect before you come to Him. He simply says, come to me, all of you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, for my burden is easy and my load is light. He wants us to seek Him. He wants us to rest in His love and in His grace. Grace being unmerited favor, and we don't deserve it, but God pours out His love. 1 Peter 4:10 in the Living Bible, it says, God has given each of you special abilities. Be sure to use them to help each other, passing on to others God's many wonderful blessings. The greatest motivational factor or method, whatever you want to call it, in the world is love. Our motivation needs to be love. And John 15:13 says, greater love has no man than this, than He lay down His life for His friends. And Jesus went on to say, you're my friends. That's what He did. We're not called to serve, we're called to love. Because you can serve somebody without loving them. But if you love them, you're going to want to serve them. We as men have been taught that we need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. In this day and age, pull ourselves up by our Nikes. And that's not part of God's system or His economy. He wants us to depend upon Him. Philippians 4:6 and 7 in the Living Bible. Do not worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Be sure to tell God your needs, and here's the key, but don't forget to thank Him for His answers. And it goes on to say, if you'll do this, you'll experience God's peace, which is far more wonderful than the human mind can comprehend. Matthew 20:28, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and give His life as a ransom for many. God is more interested in your availability than in your ability. Anybody here know God's phone number? It's Jeremiah 33:3. Jer 33:3. Call upon me, and I will answer you, declares the Lord, and I will tell you great and mighty things which you do not know. God never asks you to give what you do not have, but what you have, you ought to be able to like this, stand this way, open arms, and give it to God. As men, let's love our wives unconditionally. Let's serve them joyfully. Let's encourage their hearts through being present and being concerned and active in who they are, and just continuing to grow in your love. I tell my wife every day, I said, what we have is really special, and I am so blessed, and I really am. For our kids, continue to, as best we can, be a light. If you love somebody, let them know. I tell my wife, my kids, every day, every time I'm with them, I love you. Like, that's the end. My dad received Christ 2 years before he died. He never told me he loved me when I was young. But when I became a Christian, the first thing I did was start telling my parents I loved them. And eventually my dad started saying, I love you, son.